Hello and welcome to another episode of the Online Warriors podcast. We've got kind of an abbreviated episode. We are still in just like a crazy news drought.
Dude, I spent so long trying to find news topics. We pushed out our recording date. So a little behind the curtains action for you guys. We usually record our episodes either Sunday night or Monday, depending on, the news cycle or what we have going on over the weekend. And we actually pushed this recording until Tuesday night, which means that it's going to be a rough and late night for Techtic to edit this one because he's editing it this week.
But it was out of desperation.
Yeah,
to find
we pushed
news.
it because it was out of desperation because we literally were scouring the internet and there was like nothing of major note, at least nothing that would like sustain conversation. Like there's little headlines here and there, but like nothing crazy that we could actually talk about for like an hour. And so even today, right before we recorded, we were scouring the internet and it's bleak out there. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if we're in like the doldrums. Everybody's just hopped up on Halloween candy or what, but man, there is not a lot going on.
And I want to be clear. The bleakness is not a function of the topics we did select. Like, I think some of them are kind of feel good stories, right? I mean, for example, just kind of giving you a little sneak peek, one of the topics is a new movie that is very like unique and like not just like a rehash or a sequel or any of that nonsense. So that's not bleak, exciting, but like it's more like it's a fun movie, cool. And we want to be able to give you guys, your hour or so commute's worth of entertainment.
But I guess we'll just have to do a truncated one. And hopefully, I know there's a Nintendo Direct coming up later this week that we can talk about next week about the new Kirby game and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like the news cycle will pick up again. I just don't know what's going on.
I'm curious what that's going to bring, but fingers crossed that it's not just about rehashing the new Pokemon ZA because...
No, like I'm pretty sure it's all Kirby based. So I guess that's a news point. I guess you can look forward to sometime this week new news about the new Kirby game because it's an entire direct. I think it's going to be like a 40-minute Nintendo Direct about the Kirby game.
Let's go, Nintendo.
The interesting thing though is that I feel like we have seen a lot about that game in the past. Like there's been several Nintendo Directs where we've seen that game before. So I'm really curious what they're going to fill like 40 minutes of a showcase just on that about.
You know who's really good at like squeezing a topic dry?
Who?
Illegal. We should petition to get him on the show. What does the listeners think? Let's get him back over here. Let's
feel like that might be a far cry,
like
but
an internet push. Come on, folks.
Sign an internet petition? No, I don't know. We'll leave him alone.
All right. So what we're going to talk about today is we've got some 007 news. We have that trailer that I just mentioned, and we have some Star Wars news. And so I think I'm going to start with the 007 news.
Okay.
So the topic is that Lana Del Rey is rumored to produce a 007 theme song for the 007 First Light game. Now, first and foremost, this should further hype this game because like she already has history with the James Bond franchise. She sang $1 Million Man, which was in Skeptor, as well as she wrote the song 24 that was supposed to be in it, but they picked a different song by Sam Smith. But she's got a lot of background with this franchise, and they're just throwing in more and more ammunition to make me just absolutely be hyped about this game.
See, I find this really interesting because I feel like video games typically don't get top billing like music artists. And I know a lot of Sony productions lately have kind of bucked that trend.
I mean, think about the Tony Hawk soundtrack. It slapped.
Right, but those are not new songs specifically for the Tony Hawk games. Those are songs that they license, no different than like Need for Speed. I'm talking about like original music. I think one of the Spider-Man games also had original music. So I think like Sony is really dipping their toes into, things being more cinematic.
So what's interesting about this news topic is this is stemming from a rumor. Now, where this came from is a newly registered song on the American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers called First Light by Elizabeth Grant was posted. And first and foremost, Elizabeth Grant, that is Lana Del Rey's real name. And you couple that with the title being First Light, we got ourselves a sticky rumor. And so I just love that the internet sleuths out there are kind of peeling back the onion to get us a sneak peek of what we're expected to see. So this game's coming out March 2026. We're seeing that it's being produced with a fantastic soundtrack. The game looked awesome. There's the puzzle side of it. There's the action sequences. Is this going to be a day one buy for you?
Not for me. We talked about this when we saw the last like showcase.
You said this last time, and I'm hoping that as we get more and more and more, the needle goes the other way.
So this is going to be kind of a hot take, and I feel like I'm going to have like Lana Del Rey fans coming at me in the blue skies, blue skeets. But I used to really like her music, and I don't dislike her music now, but there's nothing like, I feel like my music tastes and genres are just so different from what they used to be when I really liked her. So this doesn't move the needle for me whatsoever. Like I'm sure my Spotify Wrapped is going to be, very eye-opening, but there's an app called Receiptify where you can actually go, and it's basically kind of like Spotify Wrapped, but you can do it whenever you want during the year, and it'll look at your like month stats, your year stats.
Do you do this frequently?
Not super frequently, but every now and then, like someone will ask me like what I've been listening to lately, and I will just go to Receiptify and be like, these are my top songs.
The data from Spotify?
It does, yeah. It has like the Spotify API and everything. So it'll pull, like, you can show like your top 10 or your top 50 most listened to songs from either the last month, 6 months, or year. So I'll do that relatively frequently. And I'm definitely living in a more like indie rock / folk space.
This is so interesting to me because I know you are a lean iPhone user. Like if you don't use an app for like 3 weeks, it's gone. Like you uninstall it. And I didn't even know
Receiptify is a website. It's not an app.
Oh, okay.
So as long as you're logged into Spotify on a web browser, you can open it up and then you just download a picture.
I'm about to Receiptify myself.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. It does show, like, especially when you sort by like 1 year versus 6 months versus 1 month, it kind of gives you like a good visual of how your music tastes have changed over the years too, because like your top artists will move up and down. There are some that are pretty much staples at the top of my list, but yeah, I feel like in the last 6 months especially, I've really leaned into indie rock music.
Does it tell you your vibe or anything like that? Like fall, is it like, hey, you're slipping into seasonal depression?
No, but I mean, if you look at the artists and you're familiar with them, you can kind of tell. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Noah Kahan. He's like one of my top artists of all time. And, we've obviously seen him twice. We've done road trips to go see him. And I know in the fall when he starts creeping up my Receiptify, like seasonal depression is right around the corner. It's stick season. Get ready.
All right. Well, we're not here to talk about Receiptify or seasonal depression. We're here to talk about Lana Del Rey, and let us know, are you guys hyped about this? Are you guys also going to be I'm a day one buyer on this. This game is constantly moving the needle for me. I feel like I've been out of the loop of just overall cinematic games, and having a game being developed to be very cinematic and very like music and story driven is really exciting for me.
The interesting thing is, though, there have been a lot of cinematic games that have, and I mean by cinematic, they have cutscenes and they're like AAA level polish that have come out in the last year that you just have not touched. There's been a decent amount of them, especially like Indiana Jones. If you liked what you saw from 007.
I'm not a big indie fan.
That was a struggle for me as well because I'm just not super big on the IP. But even stuff like Expedition 33, and there's a lot of stuff that have come out, and I think my problem is not so much that I'm lacking in, these cinematic games to play, it's just that I'm lacking in the time and the mood to play them. Because even like Expedition 33, I've really wanted to play that super bad. Like, it's on Game Pass, which I have until 2028 when it expires, and then I will not be renewing. I feel like I have to qualify that statement now.
You say it every week, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, well, I have to qualify it because I was such a staunch Game Pass supporter in the past, but I need to qualify the statement now. But I do have it stacked, and I've wanted to play it. It's been on there since day one when it came out. And the problem is just like, I know it's a really immersive game. Everybody loves it, but it's like a 35-hour adventure, and I just have not had that in me. I don't have it in me to sit down for that. Even like when I play video games, and we'll talk about this a little bit and what are you up to, I'm more focused on like roguelike stuff that I can like maybe hit for 20 minutes.
Yeah, you've moved more to like
small chunks.
An ADD gamer, basically.
Yeah, and then the chunks end up adding up, and I probably could have played the cinematic game because I spent 2 hours playing it, but like, here we are.
Still counts. So for our next topic, we've got a trailer called Eternity. This is a movie where the cast is in the afterlife, and they have to choose who they're being paired with for eternity. Now, this sounds pretty straightforward, but obviously it's kind of a little bit of a rom-com because the kicker here is that the main character, i.e. Elizabeth Olsen's character, has had a first husband who died in a war, and then she got married to her second husband, who is played by
Miles Teller.
Miles Teller.
And like importantly, they are married for like
and they had like
half a
60 plus year marriage. And so it's kind of an interesting, like, who do you pick? Because obviously at first blush, you'd say the long marriage couple gets it, but there's something to be said about experiencing the life that was stolen from you by an untimely death. So I think this is going to be kind of a fun little rom-com thing. Now, it is worth mentioning. I don't know if
I would say it's fun though. Like,
I think it's going to be fun because
like it's definitely billed as a comedy, and even in the trailer there's a lot of like one-liners and stuff, and it's going to be fun, but like it also, I feel like, is very philosophical. Like, you can walk away with this and there's so much to think about and talk about, and I don't know what the right answer really is. Like, well,
first and foremost, Miles Teller, I'll go of the two.
I mean, I don't know. I don't find him, like, you seem like repulsed by Miles Teller. I don't have that reaction. I don't
starting
know.
To like, I think he's just overhyped. He's a good actor, don't get me wrong, but like between the two, I'm going to say Callum Turner is much more attractive. And maybe that's a little bit vain to say because obviously she had a 60 plus year marriage with that character. But
I think in this trailer too, they're definitely trying to paint him as a little bit older as well, like Miles Teller's character, because they were married forever. Like, obviously they aged them down. And when you see Elizabeth Olsen and Miles Teller, they're not 80 or whatever they're purported to be when they're dead. But I think they are supposed to look a little bit older than her first husband because he died as a teenager, basically.
Yeah. Now, as far as the comedy side of it goes, I do want to make a shout out that Davine Joy Randolph is going to be in this. She's, if you don't know who she is, she plays the like serious, sassy cop on Only Murders. I love her. She adds like
She's fantastic.
She adds like a hardened badass, but also funny kind of role to this, and to really everything. She's kind of like has a role. She's typecast. I'm not gonna lie, but she's playing an angel and to help them guide through the afterlife, and she's gonna add a bit of comic relief to this, and it looks good. This is like an original IP. It's like not a sequel. It's not anything like that. I'm into this.
And it's an A24, which I feel like A24 has a really good track record. And I know Steven, our Patreon producer, who we'll shout out later, but I know he's a big A24 fan. And I feel like they do have a really, like I said, a really good track record for just putting out super unique original movies. And so this is just another one in their long list of new IPs and stuff like that. Like I said, the biggest thing to me is just, I'm actually surprised when we were watching this trailer, and this is probably something weird that maybe it's just like a me thing, but I've always kind of thought about this. Like this.
Oh, am I going to die?
No. But just like this question in general, because like you always see movies or something where, you know, old people, their, you know, wife or husband of 60 years have died, and then they find a new old person spouse in like the old person home and they find love again. And I always like, it's just something I always think about when we watch media like that, or when,
because you think you're going to die first.
I mean, yeah, probably. But also,
and you're like, that motherfucker.
No, but like it's just like even when then you get buried, I've always thought about this I guess this is taking a little bit of a dark turn, but happy Halloween, I guess. But like, who do you go with in those scenarios? And I've always been super curious, and I feel like it's very taboo. Like, you don't talk about that. You don't ask because it's just rude. But I've always wondered about that. And I feel like this is the first time I've seen a piece of media that has really like addressed that head on.
I mean, I've been experienced to that exact situation. My own like family is like an if else statement. If something else happens, then bury me with them. If not, else put me with the OG.
Right. But like that, like you don't really talk about that like openly and publicly with people. So it's always just something I've thought about, and it's probably like a weird mental thing for me. Like,
I'm just going to be a tree. Like, just plant me as a tree. No one's going to be in my root system. Easy.
I mean, I'm sure the bugs and the worms are going to be.
No, but like, I'm not marrying the bugs and worms.
Yeah, I hear you. No, but yeah, I've always kind of wondered that. And I think when we started watching this trailer, because originally I didn't know anything about this movie. We just watched it because, again, very limited news. And this was the biggest movie trailer that had come out. And we like Elizabeth Olsen. I like Miles Teller, at least. And so like, I was excited.
He's fine. He's just an uggo.
Wow. Okay. I don't face and appearance shame people. So he's totally fine. And it was an A24 film. So again, I just didn't know anything about it. And then as we were watching the trailer, it was like, damn, okay, somebody else is finally thinking about this, because this is just something that has been in my brain for years. Not like constantly. It's not something I'm always thinking about, but like it's been up there before I've thought about it.
I'm really curious which angle it's from. You dying first or me dying first?
I don't even know if I've even put that much thought into why I'm thinking about it. I think it's just something that pops into my head. Haven't you ever, like, my head is a weird place, man. I just have lots of random thoughts firing at all times. I just don't vocalize them, but there's always random ADD thoughts going on.
Also, I think that if that is heaven, I think that heaven is real shitty. Like,
well, no, because you get to pick where you want to go, basically. And I think it's not that she has to pick between them. It's that both guys kind of have different ideas of where they want to have their eternity. And so she's kind of then stuck in the middle. But like they said pretty much carte blanche, you can go wherever. You can have whatever eternity. Like that's kind of the best case scenario, right? Like do whatever the frick you want.
Just go in the same, but like.
Maybe they don't want to be in like a throuple.
No, they don't have to be in a throuple, but like, at least in my opinion, you marry your best friend, okay?
Maybe she did it twice. You can have multiple best friends.
But then they can be friends. They can be friends.
No, that would... Think about how that would actually play out. She would then be up there and then waffling between the two of them for all of eternity, and then they would both be like, what the fuck? Like, it would be a really bad love triangle that you would be stuck in forever.
No, I disagree. I think you can be best friends and they'd have mutual respect for each other. So it's like, I don't know. I don't see this as problematic.
I don't know. I don't think it would play out that way because they both want her. It's not like they're like, okay, we'll back off. Like they both want her. They even say in the trailer, it's like a competition. Like they both want her.
Yeah.
That wouldn't go away.
All right, then I say give it to the first guy because he missed out on a lot of the wanting and the other guy's stuff doesn't work anymore because he's old. I
mean, the other guy though, like I know myself and over the span of 60 years, everybody is like a handle or a handful to deal with. Like nobody is a peach for 60 years straight. So like they went through the shit together. I don't know. It's really weird. It's a weird scenario. Like all right, well, I don't know what the answer is.
I guess we'd have to watch this. But it's a good thought experiment. Yeah. We'd have to watch it, provide our thoughts, and see if they made the right or wrong decision.
I feel like the movie is going to end on a really unsatisfying note, to be completely honest with you. No, I feel like it's going to end and they're not going to tell you what decision she made. Like it's going to end on one of those like fade to black and you don't know.
I hope it's I fell in love with myself for eternity. I don't need no man.
I hate that.
Love that.
So like I didn't actually watch the third season of The Summer I Turned Pretty, but this was a series that I watched and I don't know how it ended, but in the marketing, I'll catch up eventually. And I know it was all over the internet. So like I have some spoilers, but in the marketing leading up to it, one of the biggest things that people were like, it's like, if she doesn't choose a brother, the whole plot of The Summer I Turned Pretty is basically this girl is torn between two brothers and she kind of ping pongs between them and then is with one and then the other one still loves her. Love triangle, classic stuff. And in the marketing leading up to the final season, it was kind of like, oh, is she going to just pick herself and not pick either brother? And like that shit pisses me off. Like that's so overdone.
Yeah, because independent women are bad. I agree.
No, like I have no problem with that in real life, but in a TV show where I've invested like 10 hours of my life watching episodes, pick somebody. I don't know.
Well, you've heard it here first, folks. Nerdbomber hates women.
I know, because sometimes the show will be like a guy has to choose between two girls. Like, don't pick yourself. Do it in real life. Pick yourself every time. In a TV show, pick someone. So on that note, that highly heated, contested note about my TV show preferences, we are going to roll into the break. But before we do, I would be absolutely remiss if I did not shout out our fantastic Patreon producer, Stephen Keller. Please take a bow. Stephen has been subscribed at the night level for quite a while now on the show, which means he gets this shout out every single week, as well as occasional guest spots on the show, access to our monthly secret segment and our monthly vlog, as well as some voting rights as well. If you want to be as cool as Stephen, head on over to patreon.com/onlinewarriorspodcast. There's 3 different tiers of patronage. Each come with different perks and goodies, but every single tier comes with the satisfaction of knowing that you have kept the lights on here at Online Warrior Central. So once again, we thank you, Stephen, and now we're going to head on to the break.
Welcome aboard to Vague Airlines. We're cruising here at 40,000 feet. That might be too many feet, but what do I know? I'm not really an airplane, I'm a podcaster. Actually, I'm a co-podcaster. I'm the co-host of several episodes of the Too Vague podcast. If you haven't heard it, you're missing out. Check out the Too Vague podcast. Any place podcasts do whatever they do.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has turned off the fasten seatbelt sign. For your continued safety, Too Vague Airlines requires that you keep your seatbelt fastened at all times while seated. But while you're seated, you can tune into the Too Vague podcast, TWOVAGUE, on your favorite podcast services and enjoy the flight.
And we are back. So this next story is kind of a weird one. We were supposed to get a sequel starring Kylo Ren, focused on him after the events of Rise of Skywalker. So Adam Driver has spent the last 2 years trying to develop a movie that was centered around Kylo Ren, and it was supposed to be titled The Hunt for Ben Solo. This was then pitched to higher-ups at Disney, who ultimately shut it down because, quote, "We don't see how Ben Solo is still alive." And that pisses me off. Because I want to take a moment right now.
Because like no one is dead ever in any.
Well, kind of, but also not really. I want to take a moment and address Bob Iger and Alan Bergman directly. Okay, canonically, death in Star Wars literally makes no sense. So why are we worried about starting now with it? Like Darth Vader was like burnt to a crisp and cut up. Fine, let's put some robot parts in him. He's good to go. Darth Maul sliced in half. He lived. Let's throw some spider legs on him. Good to go. Luke Skywalker died because of his weird astral projection thing, but there was no like physical damage. He just like kicked the bucket, which was weird. So like you can have both ends of the spectrum. You don't need to be electrocuted and then die. You can just astral project and die. So like it makes no sense on both sides. Either they just poof, done, or it's like sliced up and they're fine. So why start now? It just, to me, it seems like a really weird hill to die on, as opposed to just say like, hey, we don't want to do this. You know, it felt like it was almost like a scapegoat of we don't want to do this by saying, no, there's no way Ben Solo is still alive. It's Star Wars is made up, guys.
You almost made him swear.
It's made up. You could make it up how he's alive. Like they were literally teleporting lightsabers because why the Force? Why not? Like I like to relate, and this is probably going to make some people mad, but like the Force in Star Wars has become what is the Speed Force in DC, where it's like blah, 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 Speed Force. That's why these things happened. And that's exactly what you could do here. And so it feels like a really weird way to say, no, we're not doing this, when death has been so inconsistent.
So like, did you never ask your parents for anything and they just made up some reason to get you off their back?
Right, but that's talking to a child. These are like adults.
So have you been on the internet?
Yeah.
Like, it feels kind of like the same thing. And also it almost feels like insulating from the internet because so many people were so angry about the last 3 Star Wars movies that they probably just felt like they needed to come up with some reason that was innocuous enough to not piss anyone off enough to make it an internet story, which kind of failed because here we are, and Adam Driver kind of made it an internet story, I guess, a little bit here. But man, I don't know. I feel like they probably were just like, this, we need to just kill this.
I bet
now.
you Adam Driver's like said this story to get internet outrage, to then maybe get backing to make them change their mind.
Maybe, but also like, I don't know. Like I was not one of those people who thought the last 3 movies, like the J.J. Abrams arc or whatever, was that horrible. Like they were what they were. They weren't great, but they weren't that bad enough to like flame everybody online. But I also have never really found anything intense enough to go on the internet and like bitch that much. But I also was like, I didn't find them good enough to need anything more out of it. Like I'm kind of done there. I feel like I'm kind of done, and maybe this is then a knock against the last 3 movies, but I feel like Star Wars right now as a franchise is just a little overdone. And I mean, I feel like the same thing about Marvel. I feel like Disney Plus kind of screwed them a little bit because there's just too much content and too much stuff. And I'm just done with all of those IPs. Like I'm out. Give me another 10 years and maybe I'll feel differently. But right now it's overdone and I'm out.
Disagree with your take. I think there was more meat on the bone, specifically surrounding Finn, John Boyega's character. I think there was a lot to be had there with regards to him and being force sensitive potentially, but they just kind of killed that.
I'm not saying that there isn't meat on the bones in terms of telling stories with these characters, but I think in terms of fatigue for the franchise, I think everybody is back in having franchise fatigue.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean that's why we were hyped about Eternal.
Right.
So yes and no. I think the fatigue drives from the series, though, not necessarily the movies. I'm good if they popped out a new Star Wars movie every 5 years or so. I don't like the intertwine. Like, it's basically, it's giving the
same thing as the
MCU interconnected bullshit. Yeah. If everything is just a movie after a bunch of years, I'm great with it. And based on the years and the timeline of how long this was being developed and pitching it to the higher ups, it would have been that duration. And so
I don't know if it still would have been long enough.
I mean, it was just pitched. It's now killed. This was 1 year in the making.
Yeah, but I'm talking about
writing,
like,
and then you have to
even
record
in the
it,
next
edit it.
in the next few years, I don't know if I want another Star Wars movie. The only reason that
crazy take.
The only reason that I'm on board with the Mandalorian movie is because I find Grogu adorable. That's literally it. Like, I'm over everything with Star Wars. Which, come at me, bro. I guess I don't know.
Here's I guess why I'm upset about this. And I've clamored about this a number of times. I really want a gray Jedi. And him being sort of in that middle was going to be finally the movie gray Jedi potential that like, I want a Jedi flinging lightning. Boom, 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 boom. That would be so cool.
See, I feel like I'm kind of riding we've brought him up now and I said, leave him alone. But here we are. I'm kind of on the illegal train a little bit in that I don't want anything to do with Jedi. I want nothing to do with Jedi. I find the Star Wars universe extremely fascinating. And I feel like every piece of content that we've gotten somehow, for the most part, ends up back with the Jedi. And I want to see the random corners of the universe where they don't even know that Jedis exist. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I want. I want to see what's going on some backwater planet that nobody is aware of, and what is happening out there in space. Like, that's the stuff that I want.
The rise of power of Jabba the Hutt.
Sure, that too. Like, I'm so overdone with the Jedi stuff. I don't know.
That's a fair take. But either way.
Like, I want to get out of the Skywalker and related family. Like, I want to step away from them.
It's like the Kardashians at this point.
Kind of, yeah. Like, I don't want it. I don't want it. You can take it back. Return to sender.
That's fair. But like I said, my biggest gripe is really just the rationale for this getting squashed. But I guess if they're treating their actors and such as children, fair.
Yeah, I mean, I really just think it was like a hand wave type comment where they were just like, make this go away. Why are we dealing with this?
Okay. So with that said, is there anything else you want to mention with this movie, or are we good to roll on into What Are You Up To
Wednesday? No, I think I'm good for What Are You Up To Wednesday. Now, the question is, do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
You can go first.
All right. So I think the biggest thing earlier, we talked about how I'm really into, I don't want to call them like brain rot games, but kind of like your brain rot roguelike games where you play around and it takes 15 to 20 minutes and you can play more and it's kind of the same thing, or you can just nope out after one session. So there's a new roguelite that has entered the scene and it is called Ball Pit. And we actually talked about this. It was part of I don't remember if it was the summer showcase or if it was maybe like one of the PlayStation showcases. I don't really remember. We talked about it fairly recently, though, within the last couple months. And essentially, it's this combination of Peggle, Vampire Survivors, and honestly, just Peggle and Vampire Survivors. I don't know why I felt like there was a third option that needed to be in there. But you pick a character, and all of the different characters that you eventually unlock over time have different starting super balls. So basically, you have balls that you're launching at your enemies, and you can bank balls off the wall. You're kind of in an aisle that's sort of churning and scrolling enemies towards you. And you have to hit the enemies with the balls to destroy them. If the enemies reach the bottom of the screen where you are, or you get too close to the enemies, then they hit you and you take health reduction. And I think you can only really take like 5 to 10 hits depending on the defense of your character before you die, basically. And there's a kind of like a ticker on the side that'll show you when like mid-tier bosses are about to come up, and usually there's 2 of them per different ball pit venue, and then there's a mega boss at the very end. But you always know where in that line you are and how far away you are from the mini bosses and mega bosses. And so you're shooting, you have baby balls, which sounds stupid, but they're literally called baby balls. And those are just standard balls that deal standard damage. And then you have you start with one super ball, which has some sort of ability. So it might be you hit an enemy and then it lasers all of the enemies in the row or column. Or it might be a ghost ball that can move through and hit enemies behind the first enemy. Because otherwise, that balls would just bounce. So there's a bunch of different various abilities. And as you start leveling up throughout the session, you can also combine different balls because you're capped. You can only have 4 different balls, super balls at the same time, and 4 different passive abilities. And as you progress through the level, you're able to fuse the balls or evolve the balls. So say you had a poison ball and a flame ball or something, you would be able to merge those effects together so they become one mega ball that deals poison and flame. Or if you evolve them, it becomes a completely different ball that has elements of poison and flame, but has also some additional superpower, which makes it really powerful. So there's a lot of, variability in how you're playing based on the starting character that you choose, as well as what balls and abilities and upgrades you pick as you continue to move throughout the level. And essentially then you're just kind of playing Peggle and trying to beat the clock and beat as many enemies as you can. And then the cool thing is that, typically when you play a roguelite, you just get upgrades and stuff as you finish levels. But they've also added a little it's kind of like a village element to this. So between play periods, you have a village and you can build buildings, and each building will give all of your characters permanent upgrades, it upgrades all of their health or whatever. And in order to build those, you also have to harvest materials. So grain, wood, stone, all that kind of stuff. And you have to pay money to build lots of grain and wood and stone. And then at the end of your building time, you launch your characters. So the more characters you unlock, they act kind of as balls that you launch in this village, and then they ping pong around your village. And every tile that they hit is either them building a building, upgrading a building, or collecting resources. So there's kind of a mini game within the big game, and it's fairly good. I will say, I do think the level variability is not always there. Because in order to move between different ball pit levels, you have to beat each level at least twice. And then in certain cases, as you keep moving, you have to beat them 3 times to move on. And at a certain point, it's okay, well, I don't really need to beat the big snake guy 3 times. I was okay doing it once. I don't need to do this 3 times. Because there's not enough variability. The mini bosses are always the same. The final boss is always the same. That stuff doesn't change. So unless I was forced to, you're kind of forced to play the same level over and over because there's different blueprints you can find for your village. But if I wasn't forced to play them, I wouldn't play them again. I would just want to move forward.
So it doesn't really leverage that randomness of most roguelites.
No, not really. And there is some randomness in the little minions that come at you. It's not always going to be the same progression of little minions that are coming at you all the time. But that doesn't feel variable enough to make a difference.
I'm so glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, I want to continue to unlock new levels, and being forced to kind of play them 3 times is a little frustrating because there is a timer and each round takes about 15 to 20 minutes if you complete it fully, which is not a long period of time, but sometimes I don't want to have to do a full hour on a level to move to the next one.
Yeah, it doesn't work with your ADD gaming.
Exactly. Thank you. But I'm having a blast, and I am enjoying myself, and I would say it's definitely one of the more unique roguelites that I have seen in a long time, so I would definitely recommend. And it's scratching that little ADD gaming itch for sure.
Is there anything else?
That's the main one. I'll kick it over to you. I know we've watched a bunch of stuff, so if you want to talk about that stuff, I'll chime in.
Sure. I have 2 things that I want to talk about, but going off the heels of the importance of randomness in a level, I spent a huge amount of time working on my game. I don't know if I've mentioned what it's called, but it's called Goob. And what I was working on was procedurally generated levels such that the map is different every single playthrough. There's a statistical odds that you can have an identical playthrough, but based on the sequence of chambers being loaded, but it's 1 in a million odds because I've generated, at least for the first level, I've generated 12 unique chambers, and you're only going to ever see 5 chambers in that first playthrough or in that first level. So the odds of getting 1 in 12 within each sequence is very, 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 very low. So it's going to feel unique. It's an important thing, I think, to add into roguelites, and I'm so glad that like when developers don't do it, that it's noticed, and that makes me feel validated for how much time I spent on this.
I mean, I think the thing that is procedurally generated in Ball Pit, and I guess it's not really procedural generation, but like the randomness is really the upgrades that you're picking and not so much the environment around you.
But it should be both.
Right.
It should be, I mean, Hades...
But I mean, it's also just like a scrolling, like there's not a whole lot you can procedurally generate.
Yeah, but it can get monotonous, right? So like maybe it's not a true roguelite, but like Hades, I think at least is the bar for how to do this kind of thing. You need to have random enemies, random collectibles, and random levels to truly have each run through not get monotonous. So thank you for bringing that up. You make me feel like I'm not wasting my life away.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing I wanted to mention. The next thing I want to shout out is we have finally watched the movie Swiped. We've talked about this movie on the show. It is about basically the CEO of Bumble and their journey to get to that. And it is aggravating, inspiring, a little bit. I think the story could have been told a little bit better.
Some of the acting did feel a little wooden too. Like I thought the story was really interesting, but some of the acting felt and pacing options felt a little like, it almost felt like a after school special movie sometimes.
I think the thing that upset me about this is the character, the main character. I'm drawing a blank on the CEO's name, but she
Whitney
is
Wolf.
She has a incredibly intelligent background. She was then portrayed to have gotten this career out of happenstance, and I think while a lot of it showed her being a go-getter, it didn't really show her being like that smart, driven, intelligent person as well as history shows her to be. And I think there was a bit of a disconnect there in the way they told the story, and it could have been done
I think
better.
Like I said, that's kind of where like the after school specials part of it I kind of felt came into play, where it was like, oh hey, we're friends now, all of a sudden I'm just a marketing director. Like that felt a little like that should have been on like a 4:00, I don't know, Disney Channel original movie. Like some of that, like the pacing of the story felt a little off, but like the story itself, very fascinating and interesting. But like, yeah, the pacing of the story was a little off.
So I think they could have done that better, but overall, very good story, and I would recommend it. It will upset you a little bit though. And we're watching a series called Stick, starring Owen Wilson, where when he hits a golf ball, he goes, "Wow!" every time. That's not what happens, but. He's an ex-golf player. He kind of fell from grace in his own career. Then he found basically a wonder kid who can really play the game very well, but that kid has his own baggage, and it's basically a pseudo father-son coach relationship, both trying to like heal each other's trauma in like it kind of gives me that movie with that show with Harrison Ford feeling, where it's like the goofy guy and then the serious, like, but like their roles are reversed. Shrinking, yes. It gives me that like non-standard buddy-esque where they're healing each other kind of vibe, and it's very good.
I feel like it's one of those like par for the course for Apple TV Plus, because I feel like it definitely fits in that same vein as Shrinking and also Ted Lasso. Like that everybody is healing and found family type situation, because there is like a really big element too of found family. Like all of these people, like Mark Maron is in it, and I honestly, this is my bad, I don't know any of the other actors' names, but they essentially find themselves all in an RV becoming like a little family, you know,
yeah.
Little road family.
So it's very good. I highly recommend it. And yeah, that's all I got for today.
Wow.
So on that note, thank you again for listening in. Sorry, this was kind of a truncated news week, but hey, we don't control the news, man. We just report on it, I guess, and give you our thoughts. So until then, until next week, hopefully we'll have a chunkier episode for you, but we appreciate you being here. Until next week, stay safe and keep on podcasting.